Dear Venerables and dear sisters and brothers, Dhamma friends, today is our 7th day and we are now preparing for the question and answer session. So we start with the written question with the invitation that if there are any more questions, you may raise to the audience, and we are going to start with the written one.
Dear Bhante, when we are in the void, do we have to repeatedly think that we are in the Akasha Ananta? If we do so, then is it going to Samatha? Thank you.
No, that void means void of intentional action or any sign or any object. So therefore our mind never happy with voidness. We never enter into voidness. Our mind never happy to enter into voidness, plunging into it, trying to do something. That each and everything you do is a defilement. So therefore try your best not to do something. That is what the word meaning of voidness or relative meaning. But that indicates when and where there is no trouble, we are asking for trouble. When there is no friction, our mind is making friction. Our mind is so artful, it never knows the simplicity, always asking for complexity. So this is a way to train your mind in order to abide by the voidness, or entering into the voidness means try your best to not to do. Don't try to recognize this is samatha, this is vipassana. Voidness is voidness. That it is free of intentions, it is free of daydreaming, it is free from fantasizing, no creative, no introduction of anything, no determination, and that is what you restrain. And on top of that you feel, you find, you experience signlessness, you find boundarylessness, incapability to express the experience or communicability. So this is a kind of a atmosphere where you can experience it. So ego or I-ness tries all the smartness to do something. Each and everything indicates that our selfishness or I-centered thinking, ego is so crafty, so artful. It come and try to do some or the other jugglery. Never see this undisturbed flow. Undisturbed flow is so simple, too simple. So therefore try to make some turbulence. So see this and let the higher grade of voidness to set in by not doing anything, and back at in the normal day-to-day life also. Then you will reduce your talks, physical actions and mental business to the utility value. Not doing for the sake of doing, just do with the utility value. This is how this is going to be seasoned, this is going to be familiarized, this is acclimatized into this situation. So it is really going against the grain. But if you go prepared, it is so simple, because you have to learn not to do something than doing something. So therefore no formulas. You have to your own experience, but your mental attitude, your radical reflection is what you can maximize. So therefore don't entertain any kind of doing something or labeling or recognizing this samatha, this is vipassana, because now mind is ready to go beyond all the labels, beyond all the signs, beyond all the objects. So let the mind to take off.
Dear Bhante, yesterday you mentioned about the 5 ways to reach liberation. What is the fastest way in metta?
So you have to have the highway with the Benz car or something like that quick way. So this comparing mind is the one always becoming a hindrance. So there may be a lot of ways, but the Buddha has mentioned Pancha Vimuttayatanani, while listening, while chanting, while reciting, while listening, Dhamma talks and discussion, chanting, Samatha meditation, Vipassana meditation. All work in integration. One depend on the other. It's a chain action. Very difficult to isolate and see the gradation. This is better than other. It is like the theory of limiting factor. What is the limiting at the given time is decides your capacity. Once you patch up that limit or that lose that hole, then the next limiting factor come into being. Once that is recovered or prepared, the next limiting factor, like slowly capacity is increasing. There is no such gradation you can see. Of course, theoretically you can say Vipassana is the shortest way, but it is not so easy to reduce to single factor. All of them are working in an integrated manner.
Most Venerable Bhante, how come you get up exactly after an hour in group sitting meditation session? Are you entering to any dhyana, or how do you do that with metta?
So this is the way giving interviews to me and checking my meditation rather than, so I would say mind your own business, be mindful. And more and more you practice, and you appear like it is magical or it is superhuman and kind of thing. No, this is what you call the biological clock. More and more you train, the clock is going to work. Not all the time. So therefore, by training, of course, maybe by discussing these kind of things, some kind of inspiration. So this is called the habits. This is called habit making. It is not a good thing anyway, overall. But this is the way. Whatever you do in a regular way, ultimately that becomes your second nature. And then your mind becomes ready to go for another exploration, another task. So therefore, regular practice, you can't replace it with anything. Keep on practice. It says that Ustad Allah Rakha, that was the teacher of the present musician in the Ravi Shankar in India, and Ustad Allah Rakha was a Muslim person, and when he is playing the guitar, daily he has to practice 9 hours, whether students are there or not. So when and where, if he miss one day of practice, his best disciple can understand master has not done proper practice. If he miss 2 days, most of the disciples can understand master is not in the proper form. If he miss 3 days, all India knows he is not practicing properly. So therefore, whether the students are there or not, he do 9 hours. But the students, disciples, find difficult to cope up with 9 hours. He being the master, still he practice 9 hours a day, because that is his ritual. That is his duty to the music. So he do regularly. Likewise, when you keep on practicing in a regular way, no more it is a burden. It will be like a habit, the hobby, and things are happening. And many things, it is something supramundane, it is something mystic, it is something gifted like. So when the first time Dalai Lama, His Holiness Dalai Lama met with Harvard University staff, they wanted to check the brain functions of a meditated mind and compare with the normal citizens. And then Dalai Lama told it is a failure because many meditators do not like to expose to these tests and to the laboratories. So anyway, he has given 10 names, potential names, and scientists went one mountain to the other mountain, all the 10 disagree. This is going to a lab, is like committing suicide. We are not happy to expose. So it's a failure. And later again they told, after so much of traveling and after so much of kind of thing, they went and told Dalai Lama, Bhante, it was a failure, but you are very cooperative, this is a report, it's a negative. He says, I am not a good example, but I can give you good disciples, and ultimately he gave 3. And due to the influence of the Dalai Lama, they went to the lab and found 2 extraordinarily the right brain is working. All the other, whole world, left brain is the one is working. So they mapped it everything and went to the Dalai Lama and told, that is what we were searching about. They are living in the present moment. They are very contented people, never complain, never demand anything. And this is what, and then what is the secret behind? For that to happen, the shifting of the function, shifting from the left to the right, and then onward you know how to live a frictionless life, how to adopt into the situation. Then Dalai Lama told it's very simple to change from the attitude, change from the brain function from the left to the right. Then they were waiting with the open mouth to listen. He told, continue to practice 10,000 hours per meditation. Simple. Then the Americans, they can't imagine 10,000 hours. Then Dalai Lama started laughing. And he says, it is true for American, even 1 hour a day or 100 days of continuous meditation is impossible, because your mind is so much on the sensuous pleasure. So therefore keeping in one difficult, but that is what. But you won't believe, out of the whole population in the Tibet, more than 1% of the national population already passed the mark now. Because always they are lamas, they are always practice. So therefore that is the difference. So therefore if you keep on practicing, good or bad, it change not only the chemical body, it not only changing your brain, the habits, the biological clock also changing. So that is the one, depending on your faith. If you have the faith, don't compromise with the results, keep on practicing. Even others may come and ask, why you are taking so much of interest on this kind of thing? So you have to say, I don't know, I am practicing for the sake of practicing. And then only the thing is going to happen. So till that, you need external stimulations, external help, and faithful atmosphere, faithful talks and faithful people, all the kind of thing. But once you gain your own faith, that is called resolute faith, that's called kusala chanda, then onward it is like a habitual, or it is like addiction into this. Then only the lasting changes in your body and the mind going to happen.
Dear Bhante, when taking meals, is it necessary or must you take rice and curry and fruits and all other things in the same sitting with metta?
No, the question is not much clear. Maybe some other points to be clarified, but the way the question is writing, very difficult to guess. You may please repeat the question.
When taking meals, is it necessary or must you take rice and curry and fruits and all other things in the same sitting?
So that indicates that if you can take in one sitting, that means kind of table manners and organization, everything is easier. But otherwise, if you are taking this and go back and come back again and taking something and going and coming back, very difficult to have the organization. But for the monks, the Buddha has given that if you are allowed to take one full meal from the dawn to the noon. So this is the time that you are taking the staple food. And if you happen to take a full square meal in the breakfast and tell the donor, supporter, or your helper enough. You have no chances again to take meals within that day. So that means once you, it's called invited, like tell enough, that means no more. So therefore what we do is, you offer to the monks and you don't let the monks to say enough. You them to serve themselves and they will go, and then still they can take another meal within the same time because they have not fulfilled and they have not declared enough. So this is the deep root idea behind this question, but it is only for the higher ordained monks. They can only one meal per day, but as far as you have not completed one, you can for the breakfast and the lunch. If you say it's a breakfast, after taking breakfast enough, happen to state that again if you are going to entertain the lunch also, there is a mistake, there is a lapse in your disciplinary code. So I think that question is not leading to that kind of disciplinary rule. But other thing is that when you are taking a meal, specifically like a group, if you are going to come and sit and again go and come, maybe in a party or in a buffet diet, it's okay. But in a place like this, it is easier for the donors, easier for the assistant, easier for the other fellow eaters to have your thing in a one shot or one posture and finish it. But if you are going to break that, it is not a crime, of course. You can do if you have a reason, but otherwise this is the manner.
Dear Bhante, I watch the rise and fall of the abdomen. I note the difference of sensations in the rise and fall. I can see the start of the rising and end of its fall. I also see very clearly the hardness and a sort of internal air movement. What I just can't catch is the beginning, middle and end of the rise and fall of the abdomen.
This is fairly true when compared the in-breath and out-breath versus the rising and falling of the abdomen. In-breath is rather independent from the out-breath. The in-breath takes and then hold the air inside, and while holding you can clearly see the end of the in-breath. And after starting the exhalation, it goes and come into the zero level, and then the in-breath happen after the out-breath. Likewise, it is appear like two waves per one breath. But in rising and falling, as far as the in-breath is happening, the abdomen is keep on rising, tension is increasing, and expansion is increasing, and without coming back to zero, the falling start. So it appear like instead of bimodal waves, it has a single peak wave. So these are the two difference in the sensation wise. So therefore, the Maha selected this rising and falling because instead of two single little waves, rising and falling means one single big wave, so easy to perceive. So therefore, beginning of the in-breath, simultaneously happening beginning of the rising, and end of the out-breath is coining with the end of falling. So therefore, in between end of the rising and beginning of the falling is not clear cut in the rising and falling. Never mind. So this much understanding the beginning of the rising at the end of the falling, that indicates now you are bound to see more and more details. Keep on practice like that. While practicing, the distance between the object of meditation and the observing mind reduces, and then the dynamism of the object as well as the observing mind come up to equal vibration or equal RPM. Ultimately, you feel the in-breath and out-breath as if face to face. Whenever the two vibrations are harmonized, acclimatize, recognize each other, At the beginning, the mind is running in a different rounds per minute, and the object is rotating in different rounds per minute, so coincidence never happens. So first you have to do is let the both of them run and gather the momentum, and once that happens, then you can see the details. Otherwise, very difficult. So the Burmese master, he used to say, when the lady is using the frame to fix the cloth for embroidery, you can't do embroidery with the cloth in your hand. You have to fix it into a round. And once it's fix it, it's like a drum. So you can do any kind of decorations. So you can't do decoration without it is fixing. Mounting. The cloth has to be mounted. After mounting, you can halfway do your embroidery and keep it there and go and have a cup of tea and come here and start again from the point where you stopped it. But that is not possible with a cloth without mounted. So likewise in the early part of the meditation, fixing the object and the observing mind, it's like a love affair. You can't force it. You can't claim it. But you have to know how to get your girlfriends happy with you. You can't force the girlfriend till you develop the affair. After the develop the affair, that you can do little bit of influencing. So that is what the Pahok side of this. Don't tell this in the public, because people will laugh at you telling that you are not teaching meditation but love affairs. But this is exactly a love affair. You can't regiment. Sorry. Because it's an affair. You have to get the affection of the other party. So therefore, till the rising and falling become invitive, cooperative and relaxed, till that you can't force. So each day, when you preparation of this object of meditation and the noting mind, you have to assume the beginner's mind. Daily you have to start the beginner's mind. Once the connection started, then everything happened on the momentum. So therefore it is ever you are a lover, but not married. Keep on the affair, because you are daily beginner. I don't know whether I am misleading or leading you. It's an example I thought of citing.
Most Venerable Bhante, sometimes when I think deep into Dhamma, I feel so upset and sad, as all the things around us, including our loved ones, are subject to change and are lost in this samsara. How can we think beyond when such thoughts come to our mind with metta?
So when your self is suffering, do you recognize with that suffering? If it is so, you are going against the Dhamma. So your whole effort is to see, as far as self is there, it's a suffering. So your suffering of the self is not your suffering. It's a result of your meditation. It's a gift of your meditation. So if you are going to recognize with it, definitely you will be boosting your ego. You'll be very happy to boost the ego and fertilize it and feeding. But in the meditation, definitely you wean it off, dwindle it off, then you can see ego is suffering. You can say ego is losing the nutriments, losing the food, but still you are the winner. You are the winner. You are keep on practicing while ego is becoming weaker and weaker and weaker. So far in the samsara, what mistake was, each and everyone assume this ego is realistic, ego is for my well-being, and therefore happiness of the ego is the happiness of me. But when you keep on practicing, you understand ego means a suffering. Whatever the ego is calculating is a friction, it's a complication. So when the complication suffers, your simplicity laughs. So this is the way the yoniso manasikara, the radical reflection has to happen. Otherwise that non-existence ego, you recognize as existing, And more than that, the suffering of the ego is considered as my suffering. This is the one claiming. So in meditation you learn the art of disclaimer. Disavow all the suffering, all the frustration, all the burnings, all the torturing. The torturing are the torturing. Suffering is there, who cares? This is what you call the getting a distance. Of course it is not a completely mental game, but while practice is happening, this junction, the place where you understand the immediate nature of suffering, immediate nature of burning, torturing, it happens moment you assume, you suffer. Therefore you have to understand the art of unassuming, disavow, disclaim, non-reaction. Then you can see the distance, so much so you can feel freedom. You can feel while the suffering is there, through this disclaimer, you can be neutral, not happy, not unhappy, because so far you are recognizing or you are assuming all the available sufferings. So therefore the way the Buddha explains is, in a way you have to get rid of your misconception. The other way you have to live a life in a way that giving less and less exploitation and distraction to the society and the atmosphere. And third way you have to understand your suffering due to volitional activities, suffering due to intentional activities, suffering due to conscious decisions also reducing. This is how you are going to give a different interpretation toward the suffering and disclaim, get a distance. So therefore my basic question is the suffering of the ego is yours? That's the one you have to reflect upon.
This is the last question. Dear Bhante, as you mentioned in one of your previous discussions about while monk telling you that Sri Lankans don't know about mindfulness, I would like to ask you about something similar. I see Sri Lankans going to temple, offering flowers, lighting incense and lamps, but mostly, devotedly, listening to Dhamma discussions, suttas, over and over again, perhaps given by a different monk each time, or listening to the same tape or CD over and over again. However, I notice, or it appears to me, these same people never really meditate. So my question to you, Bhante, is what is the merit gained at all by listening to Dhamma discourses over and over again? Are they simply wasting their time? Is there any merit in constantly listening to Dhamma CD repeatedly without actually meditating? Theoretical versus practical knowledge. What is the point?
So that theoretically we can say the Buddha recognized three kinds of knowledges, 3 degrees of knowledges. Book knowledge or theoretical knowledge, the first one. The second one is the inferential knowledge or rational knowledge. The third one is the direct experience. So they are in an orderly manner. First you have to gain the theoretical understanding. Some just listen and never take into their heart. They never contemplate upon, and that is the end of it. That means they have a very superficial kind of faith. But some people gather them, by heart them, analyze them, scrutinize them, and deduce and say, yes, before doing anything you have to have a pure understanding about something. So therefore I must in future do something in a contemplative way, deductive way, inferential way, like his faith or her faith is increasing further into get the extract from what he or she listen and then sometimes put into practice. So this is not the normal superficial unfounded faith. This is kind of practical kind of thing. Out of that lot also, very little get the proper understanding, proper awakening or proper unwinding, and for them the practicing, more and more practicing, of course they will give little time for listening also, and progress is happening. So theoretical knowledge is leading to this rational knowledge, or inferential knowledge, or deductive knowledge, and then deductive knowledge is leading and promoting, practicing under your very nose. So one after the other, it is in a chain action going on. But if you are progressing only, you can understand how one leading to the other. But there will be a lot of people, dropouts, they are just listening but never put into practice. So therefore, we can develop a lot of theories, but rather than understanding and analyzing outside, see oneself, what is happening to the theoretical knowledge I gained, did I grasp or digested what is suitable for me and what is applicable for me, have I put into practice? If that is happening, whether the other world is progressing or not, never mind, you can see your progress. And whenever anything became a religion, that is destructive. Whenever the philosopher, the Dhamma, the reality, good, it's very fresh, it is very tonic, it is rejuvenating, it is ready for the new. But when and we are getting established religious body, it is satanic, it is nasty, it is defiled. It is always thinking about the existence and sectarianism. That is what happened. So this is the worst cancer in the human civilization. That is why the Karl Marx mentioned religion means something like abing, more, what do you call, drug, like a drug. So addiction, people, they claim we are religious and they are recognized only with the own clan, others are different sect, and killing each other, exploitation each other. So he put all the religions as abing. Abing means, how do you call it? Morphine. Not the caffeine. Opium. Each and every religion is an opium addiction. Everyone wish that the whole world must be Buddhist. The Buddhists are thinking like that. And any other religion also the same. They think that once everything become our own religion, the peace will come. And instead, he gave values to the physicality, materiality, but he talk was really that ultimately he told, when the whole world become Marxist, then the peace will come. He also in the same tone, ultimately that materialism became a religion. So that is the way the things are gather the momentum. It is very vicious. So best thing is, don't recognize with any society. Be unto yourself, just like a rhinoceros horn. He is the only animal, you have a single horn. All the others have two. So the Buddha says, Eko chare kagga visana kappo, no compromise with anyone. You live like a bird or like a rhinoceros horn, but you must have so much confidence to live a life like that. Confidence on the solitude, confidence on the peace of mind, confidence on the contentment. So, but our parents, our elders, our politicians, they never happy to see that you are independent. They feel it like a threatening for their society whenever someone is living alone by itself, by herself or himself. So that is why the Buddha, he told, I am like a deer roaming in the forest. Wherever fresh greens available, I run away. I have no any idea about the center or place or clan or nothing. So this is the outlook in the religious life, the meditative life. Internally also you must independent. You must be independent. That means you are depending on your own experience, first-hand experience rather than the book knowledge. So therefore, it's a process. It never happen overnight. Slowly, you have to get accustomed into that kind of a mentality. Yes, we have taken about 40 minutes for the written questions. So,
Bante, I want to know Pancha Vimukana, what are the 5? I heard listening, chanting, Samatha Vipassana, and the 5th one?
Listening, discussion, chanting, Samatha and Vipassana.
Thank you.
Okay, so the silence indicate no more questions. So we can take all the 1 hour and quarter for walking meditation, and we'll be meeting here at about 3 o'clock for a group sitting. With that reminder, I would like to sum up the question and answer session. Thank you very much for the participation.